The following is an AZPM original production.
For AZPM, I'm Mark McLemore, and this is Arizona Spotlight. Coming up, meet the actors playing four music legends in a new production of the musical play The Million Dollar Quartet. A closer look at what we'll be showing at Fest Tucson 2024, including reviews of two of the featured selections. And this month's Stories That Soar is a collaboration from a second grade class about the true meaning of love. Those stories are next on Arizona Spotlight. December 4th, 1956 was a legendary day in music history. An impromptu recording session at Sam Phillips' Sun Records Studios in Memphis, Tennessee, captured Elvis Presley, Carl Perkins, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Johnny Cash playing together for the only time in history. The musical stage play, The Million Dollar Quartet, dramatizes the chemistry between these four icons and provides a colossal singing, dancing, and acting challenge for the four actors who star in the Saguaro City Music Theatre production. It runs from October 4th through the 20th at the Berger Performing Arts Center, and I got to talk with the four young men who will be filling some very big blue suede shoes.
Hello, my name is Wyatt Andrew Brownell. I am playing the killer, Mr. Jerry Lee Lewis in Million Dollar Quartet, as well as serving as the show's music director. Very excited to be here.
And my name is Michael Potter. I play Johnny Cash.
My name is Colton Sims. I will be playing Elvis Presley in this production.
My name is Tarif Papu. I'm playing Carl Perkins.
Welcome, guys. I find this production to be very interesting because you're carrying a lot of legacy into each performance with you. People are going to have expectations in the audience. So tell me a little bit, just whichever one of you would like to speak up first, I guess, about what being in the Million Dollar Quartet means.
Wow, no, you're absolutely right about it. There have been expectations along with this music. It's gone deep into the heart of our culture, and it means a lot to a lot of people. So I remember my first time ever, I was doing Elvis, and there's just a lot of pressure. Make sure you got the moves right, you sound like them, and then you can just see when you do something that the audience recognizes, they just light up and they love it, you know, and that makes all the difference. It's a great honor to be walking in the footsteps of these giants, you know.
So you played Elvis in a previous production.
My first two Million Dollar Quartets, I was doing Elvis, actually. It was because Cash was taken, so I settled for the king, you know. But I sure love doing Elvis as well. He's a legend, you know.
Sure. So Colton, as the Elvis in this production, what came easier to you, learning sort of signature Elvis moves or the voice?
I don't know. I feel like it all kind of like melts together. It's just like all one entity. Because the biggest thing that I'd like to do is really capture the soul of this character, because so many people go into this production, you know, like for the vanity of playing Elvis and like this recognizable icon and stuff, but he was way more than just the caricature that I feel like a lot of people do portray on stage. You know, he was a real guy. He was funny and had so much charisma and charm, and that's something that I really want to capture, is not just the character, but the character of the man. You know what I mean? But I'm having a blast.
Well, from the most recognizable person probably in the quartet to perhaps the least, Carl Perkins was a musician's musician in a lot of ways, the founder of the sound that the other guys were all drawing on in a lot of ways too. Tarif, tell me about playing Carl Perkins and what sources you drew on to find the character.
It was interesting hearing Mike say that so many of these songs are so deeply rooted in our culture. It made me think of other people's cultures and how these songs even travel over there. Like the Beatles were really, really, really influenced by Carl Perkins. And one of the quotes that they said is that if there wasn't Carl Perkins, there wouldn't be the Beatles. And I definitely heard of the Beatles, you know, growing up a lot more than Carl Perkins. But the fact that this band, that is arguably the most influential band ever, felt so passionate about this guy, that made me feel a passion for his character. And we've all felt at times in our lives that we didn't get our due or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's therapeutic for me to go up there and you know, tell his story and kind of tell people this guy is worth looking into and his music is great. You should check him out.
Well, Wyatt, you've got a role that is probably one of the most controversial members of the quartet in real life.
Definitely.
But I have to ask you, did you ever swing your leg up on a piano before you played Jerry Lee Lewis?
Well, it's funny. My family will tell you that I was born to play this role because it goes back to the very beginning. I'm a Louisiana native, just like Jerry Lee. I was born just an hour west of Jerry Lee's hometown of Faraday. And also, it's a great story. When my mom was 6 months pregnant with me, there was like this big like start of the year concert that Jerry Lee held in Alexandria, Louisiana. And so my mom is 6 months pregnant, dancing to a whole lot of shaking going on with my dad. And so I almost treat it like the babies that are like exposed to Mozart while they're still in the womb kind of thing, but just the rock and roll equivalent of it. And Jerry Lee was influential on my playing when I started to play. And so it just came around that like when this role became possible for me to play, I was like, oh, I really get to pay tribute to a legend of my home state, my community. And then you have to play it honestly and with integrity. And the fact that Jerry Lee is a very controversial figure is something that I don't shy away from. He grew up in a very interesting, very unique, very complicated life. And we try to explore all those elements in this show. And I feel honored to be able to portray that on stage, both the good and the not so good that comes with that. And then also getting to capture the energy that is the killer.
All of these guys have passed on now. I wonder if in the process of playing these parts, if you guys have ever thought of a question you wish you could ask of the person you're playing. And Wyatt, we'll throw it back to you.
I would go with, what about the music and your life felt so conflicted? Because I think the central pillar of Jerry Lee's life is the conflict between how he grew up and the music that he came to play. He seemed to always believe that his music was meant to be played for his God and for his religion, and that he was in a way like violating that by playing rock and roll. And I feel like it was one of those things where couldn't you make that coexist in your own heart and mind? And he couldn't. And I would have loved to know how that conflict resolved in his mind. What did he take that? Because he lived the longest out of all the quartet members. He had the longest time to process all this. I've always found that intriguing.
Michael, have you thought of any questions that you would like to ask Johnny Cash?
I remember doing some of my first early tribute concerts, and I was just, the first question I'd ask him is, how'd I do? Was it okay? Did it live up to your standard? And of course, there's only one Johnny Cash that'll ever be, and I can only just be a shadow of that giant of a man, you know. But I truly have so much love and respect for that man, for what he stood for. You know, he never pretended that he was a perfect person. And I think that's what truly endears us to him. And the whole human race is attracted to this fallen nature that kind of needs redemption. Johnny's music was really born out of this.
Colton, have you thought of a question for the king?
I think I would ask, like, at the end of the day, what does Elvis Presley want? Because he was being pulled in like every different direction, and his management team was like questionable, and there were so many things that he wanted to do that he couldn't do due to like every circumstance that was around him, and he was constantly taking care of his family, his parents, and everybody around him. You know, that only led to his mental stress and things that prevented him from being truly happy.
So, a question for Carl Perkins.
Yeah, I would just ask him how. Like, how were you so tough the entire time?
Yeah.
I have a bad day, and it's the end of the world. Carl had enough bad days for everybody, and he still managed to keep going day after day. And if any of those times he just stopped, we wouldn't have all of this music.
Gonna lay down my burden,
Where?
down by the riverside,
Where?
down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Gonna lay down my burden,
Where?
down by the riverside. I'm gonna study, whoa, no more. Well, I ain't gonna study, whoa, no more. Ain't gonna study, whoa, no more. Ain't gonna study, whoa, no more. Well, I ain't gonna study, whoa, no more. Ain't gonna study, whoa, no more. Ain't gonna study, whoa, no more. Come on, Brother Lewis. Well, I'm gonna drive up in my new Cadillac down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I'm gonna drive up in my brand new Cadillac down by the riverside. I'm gonna study for it's no more. Well, I ain't gonna study, whoa, no more. Ain't gonna study, whoa, no more. Ain't gonna study. riverside. Gonna lay down my sword and shield. Tell me where. Down by the riverside. Gonna study war no more.
Saguaro City Music Theatre presents the Million Dollar Quartet October 4th through the 20th at the Berger Performing Arts Center. You can visit the Spotlight webpage at azpm.org to listen to the complete version of Down by the Riverside, and Michael D. Potter performs one of Johnny Cash's most famous songs, Folsom Prison Blues. Every year, Film Fest Tucson brings a carefully curated selection of independent and international cinema to screens around the downtown Tucson area. This year's festival is running next weekend, October 11th and 12th, and here to tell us more is Film Fest Tucson's co-director, Herb Stratford.
So every year it's a bit of a challenge just because we are not one of those festivals that is in a particular niche or in a particular genre. So we're always sort of story first. And it takes me all year, to find the content for this festival. And I program a number of festivals, but this is the one that I actually run. I'm constantly on the hunt for the best stories. And there are some sort of buckets that I like to fall into. I like to make sure we have things that are relevant to different audiences that we've developed over the period of time we've been doing this festival. So there's always a food element. There's always, some history. There's always, ideally, cultural pieces, be they fashion one year or architecture another year. But I think film festival audiences are a certain type of people.
And Tucson film audiences even more so.
Yeah, and not to fall into that trap, but there is a certain level of sophistication. So I want to challenge our audiences, but I also don't want to alienate our audiences. So I want to deliver a nice sort of robust platform of opportunities to learn about something, to be exposed to new rising talents and to existing talents, and to tell stories that you may not find otherwise.
Well, that having been said, Herb, tell me about something that you saw that you couldn't wait to get to the Tucson audience.
This year, one of the things that we're doing that we haven't done in the past a lot of is an animated film. And that's something that I never know if we're going to have an audience for it or not. But there's an incredibly beautiful film called Memoir of a Snail, and it won all the big animation awards in France just a month or two ago. It's just an absolutely beautiful thing. And what I came around to was, it's not even about the animation, it's story. And the animation is how you're telling the story, but much like a narrative or a documentary or whatever else, that's just the means to get that story across. And that movie moved me so much, I just could not wait to get it. And that's the kind of thing, as a film critic and as somebody that is, watching a lot of content all year long, it's like when I see something that just really resonates, my first response is, I want to share this with more people. And that's what this is about. This is about me being selfish and saying, I want to show all the films that I love that maybe you haven't seen.
So another film I see on the brochure has Pierce Brosnan, but he looks a little different. It's a film called The Last Rifleman, and I'd like you to tell us what that's about.
It's a really interesting true story about a Scottish rifleman from World War II, and he is living in a care home. So he hears about a 75th anniversary of D-Day, so he basically runs away from his home to be there because it's so important to him. And what's so sweet about this story is that it's all the people that help him. And it's not just like he's on his own, but people just, you don't often see sort of the kindness from the public that they demonstrate in this film. And he gets, I'm not going to ruin anything, but it's just the journey is so amazing. And this is a film that I think it was released overseas, but it's going to have a U.S. release a couple weeks after we screen it. So we were very excited to have it because it's sometimes, people for film festival audiences, they want to see somebody they recognize, or they want to see something that they've heard of. They're a little bit less averse to risk, and so Pierce is a known entity.
Yeah, and they, as we were alluding to, they age him up in this film.
They do.
So that he looks like a veteran of D-Day. And
yes.
You touched on the fact with me that this is a film that commemorates a generation that we know will soon be gone.
Yeah, and that's why it's funny. A lot of times I think to myself, have we heard all of these stories? Specifically, like around the Holocaust, have we heard every story that we can hear around the Holocaust? And I'm constantly surprised. There's constantly more stories to be told, and I'm really glad to see that studios are making these stories and they're making them available to us, because otherwise we're going to forget this stuff.
And when can audiences catch The Last Rifleman?
So The Last Rifleman is on Friday night. It's actually one of our first films, October 11th at 6 o'clock at the Scottish Rite.
What about showcasing the creatives behind these films and making them accessible for Q&A sessions and to meet the viewers?
You know, the whole festival experience, honestly, is what can you do? Why would you get off your couch to come down to a festival? Because so much content is available through the streaming services and whatever. So really, it's that plus. It's that experience of having a director, a star, a producer that you can ask questions to, that you can sort of get a richer understanding of something. And even if you don't ask a question, if you're just sitting there and you're listening to the questions, that's a much more robust experience. So we always work very hard to get people here, and the Tucson Film Office, they help us bring people in because it's expensive to fly people in from Belgium and other places. So that's really important for us. And so we actually have more filmmakers coming this year than we've ever had before. We have a lot of shorts filmmakers coming, and we have filmmakers from The Wall and Space Cowboy and The Paper Bag Plan and Cold Wallet. And so we've got a lot of that happening, which is exciting.
And for people who want to interact with Film Fest Tucson on a budget.
So we, again, are partnering with the Main Gate Square, the Marshall Foundation, right here on campus at U of A. They have that wonderful outdoor screen that's sort of behind Cafe Luce and behind Chipotle. And it's a beautiful screen. And so, again, we're doing free movies, one on Friday night and one on Saturday night. Friday night actually is going to be the shorts program. We're going to show 14 of our shorts and have some of our filmmakers there. And then Saturday, we're partnering with the Living Streets Alliance, and we're doing a film called The Street Project, which is an interesting documentary about how cities are trying to design streets better to avoid collisions with pedestrians and bike riders. And we're really happy to partner with Living Streets Alliance. This is the second time we've done that. They're actually going to have a bike valet, so it's going to be sort of a fun bike night.
Well, that brings up the point that there is no central location for Film Fest Tucson. You are playing on different screens around the downtown and university area. So please give people an idea of what the scope of it is.
This was really important to us to make it a walkable festival. So we are on 6 screens. 3 of them are at the Scottish Rite, which is downtown, which is a great venue. It's a 110-year-old Masonic building that we turn into 3 screening rooms. We're also at the Fox Theater on Friday night, and we're at the AC Hotel, and then we're at the Main Gate Square Plaza there. So it's a lot when you have 6 movies going on at one time. It's a lot of running around. But as I like to say, you're creating lots of great choices for people to see different things, because we do a lot of thinking. I have a big board with Post-its on it, and we move things around all the time to try and make sense of what is where and when.
Well, next up, we're going to hear film essayist Chris DeShiel. He's going to share a closer look at 2 of the major featured films this year. These films have local roots, correct?
Yeah. So Space Cowboy, definitely. We're having the subject of that film, Joe Jennings, will be with us, along with one of the producers. And then The Wall, we're actually having the director, the producer, and then Mike Wilson, one of the stars of the movie. So, yeah, a lot of great people on site, and that'll be really exciting.
And here's Chris DeShiel to tell you more about those films. Thanks for your time, Herb.
Thank you.
Film Fest Tucson, which is happening on October 11th and 12th, always has an interesting lineup, and this year's no different. I'll give 2 examples. First, showing on Friday, 8 p.m. at the Fox Theater, is Space Cowboy from Bryce Levitt and Mara Strauk. It's a documentary about the life and work of Joe Jennings, one of the best skydiving cinematographers. What that means is that while skydiving, he films other skydivers. He's created stunts for numerous movies, TV shows, and commercials. He made his mark in the 1980s and 90s as part of a champion duo with the great sky surfer Rob Harris. His feet strapped onto what seems more like a snowboard than a surfboard, Harris could perform amazing acrobatic turns and dances in the sky, while Jennings would be right there with him, filming up close. This part of the story is quite moving, as Jennings recounts the thrill of his work with Harris, and at the same time his increasingly difficult bouts with depression. Currently, we witness his obsession with doing stunts involving dropping large objects from airplanes, while skydivers perform routines with them. We see a fake living room set, for instance, with a skydiver on a couch, his feet on a coffee table while watching a TV screen, all plunging through the air at high speed.
It takes a long time to make things go right. But it takes no time at all for things to go wrong. And they go wrong very fast. What's interested me the most about skydiving is bringing the experience down to people who don't skydive, and actually bringing normal things that we do on the ground up into the air. When I'm in the air and I'm getting a shot, I mean, that's exhilarating. And that feels like art.
Jennings' big goal, though, is to design a car that skydivers can sit in while it's pushed out of a plane. There's no roof on the car, since the divers will have to eject from it eventually, that has the visual effect of an automobile with passengers flying through the sky. Jennings does these stunts just for the sake of artistic effect, and the footage is nothing less than spectacular. These are all performed, by the way, over a skydiving airfield in Eloy. Space Cowboy is a fascinating and fun journey. My second example is having its U.S. premiere at the Scottish Rite Building on Saturday at 5:30. It's called The Wall, and it stars Vicky Krieps, an excellent actress from Luxembourg, who was introduced to most American viewers in the film Phantom Thread from 2017, and has done a lot of good work since. She plays a young Border Patrol agent named Jessica Comley, who seems angry and stressed out a lot of the time. Her sister-in-law, a close friend, is dying of cancer, and she has issues with both her parents. Her overly aggressive attitude on the job causes her to be disliked by the other Border Patrol agents. We follow her and her partner on duty driving around a number of checkpoints. Then we follow another character, an elderly Native American man played by real-life activist Mike Wilson, who walks in the desert with his grandson, visits his brother, and is then revealed as someone helping migrants who are crossing the border, providing them with water and supplies, and with other assistance if needed. We are shown the very difficult and perilous situations of these poor migrants. The two plot threads meet when Comley, the Border Patrol character, encounters the old man and causes a serious incident.
But then again, maybe the knife belonged to me. And she put it in his pocket after she shot him.
What can prove to me that you tell the truth?
Nothing.
And what can prove to me that you haven't been smuggling migrants all these years?
Sheriff, I know you know the people from around here. But you white people, you believe so much in your almighty laws that you don't see the people anymore. We took medicines to my brother Manuel. We prayed for our dead relatives, and that's all.
Very well.
The Wall was written and directed by Philippe Van Loo. It's interesting how he doesn't make the main character played by Vicky Krieps sympathetic. Her zealous ideas about protecting her country from those people, the Tonks, as Border Patrol slang calls them, are repulsive, and you can't help kind of hating her at times. But at the same time, the film refuses to make her a villain either. We get to see her as a human being with her own positive traits and feelings. This resistance to a simplistic narrative makes the movie much more powerful than a conventional drama would be. Krieps is impressive in the lead. The film was shot completely in the Tucson area. You may recognize the desert to the west of the city, with the Tucson Mountains in the background. The Wall is a tough, uncompromising look at the injustices perpetrated on our border. Check out the schedule at filmfesttucson.org. I'm Chris DeShiel, and this is Arizona Spotlight.
Chris DeShiel is an outside contributor to this show, and his opinions are his own. FilmFest Tucson 2024 is happening next weekend, October 11th and 12th, and you can find a link to the complete schedule on the Spotlight page at azpm.org. The Tucson nonprofit Literacy Connects sponsors a professional group of performers and musicians called Stories That Soar. Their mission is to help young writers realize the potential of bringing their stories to life. This Stories That Soar was written as an artistic collaboration in a second-grade classroom. When asked, "What does the word love mean to you?" the students decided to remind us all about love's versatility.
Lovely lines.
Lovely lines.
Lovely lines.
Lovely lines.
Lovely lines.
Lovely lines.
Lovely lines. Love is the sun. It keeps me warm.
Love is a teddy bear. It makes me feel loved.
Love is when my friends help me.
Hey, are you okay?
Let's help you up.
Thanks.
Love is cousins. They love you and help you.
Love is hugs when you need them, and your family gives them to you.
We love you so much, sweetie, and we're always here for you.
Love is food. You can eat it with your family.
Love is my dog.
Come here, boy. Come here. He's a good boy.
I love him and he loves me too.
Love is loving others.
Love is kind.
Lovely lines.
Lovely lines.
Lovely lines.
Lovely lines.
Lovely
lines.
Lovely lines.
Lovely lines.
That audio creation was composed by a second grade class at Robison Elementary. Go Roadrunners! The voices were all by middle school students studying acting, film, and radio production at Literacy Connect's Youth Center. Remember, aspiring student-age writers can submit their stories now to the Magic Box Story Portal at literacyconnects.org. Thank you for listening to Arizona Spotlight. This show is a production of AZPM. The production engineer is Jim Blackwood. Production assistance by Sophia Hammer. I'm producer and host Mark McLemore.
AZPM podcasts are made possible in part by donations from listeners like you. Learn more at support.azpm.org. Thank you.